can, right?
Alright.
And the second thing is you need to have this open conversations with your kid, right? But you need to be careful. Don't put your feelings in front, because what happens is the mother or the father is also emotionally broken up. So when the child is opening out, you need to keep your feelings really separate from this.
I see.
Right.
And not use the child as a sounding board to let out all of your emotions onto the child.
Plus, never talk ill about your ex, because this is a parenting role, right? You only have one parent, right? So the situation can be different, the family can be different, but in your mind, your parent is your parent. This is a huge role. So you should never badmouth them. You should never encourage children to take sides. Right? You should never do that, because you're angry with your spouse. You should never encourage them
And I'm sure it takes a conscious effort to do that, because instantaneously the parent's reaction would be to somehow gang the children also up with them on their side, as you say. But
because emotional instability is not the child's problem.
yes.
Right? And the other thing you should need to remember is your child is not a messenger or a spy. Right? So once you have the divorce or the separation with your spouse, you need to have a very clear role that you're dealing directly with him or her because of your child. You can't have your flames burning, right? So the main focus should be, as you said, is the child, and the parents should suppress their emotionality and focus the goal of, you know, bringing out a happy, stable kid into this world.
Definitely. And then once you get into the post-divorce stage and, you know, post-separation stage, then some parents take the next step of, you know, marrying another person and bringing a new person into their family. And this is when step parenting comes in, and some parents struggle with this change, and children struggle even more with this change because there's a completely new person in their house. So let's speak about how parents can introduce a step parent to the children in a very effective and positive way.
The thing is, now when the child goes through a divorce, they are getting used to adjustments, and this takes easy 2 to 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
Easy, right? To figure out the loss or the miss of the person who's not in the house. So you need to keep that in mind. And whoever this person you're choosing as a partner, for a step parent or a step mom or a dad, right? You need to know this is not a replacement. This is not replacement. There's only one mother and there's only one father, right? It doesn't change, right? And if you think that by remarrying that you're going to have the whole unity of the family or everything is going to be back to normal, it's not going to happen, because this is not Brady Bunch or the modern family, right? The realistic goal is, the first thing happens is the child is reading competition, because you bringing in another person, it's natural for the attention, right? So you need to keep that in mind. So the step parent you bring into the family should have this very cleared out. You need to have this relationship on a very solid ground, where you will explain it very clearly, and you will have roles, and you will have realistic goals to achieve, right? Because you can't be the mom or the dad. Right? So whoever this person goes in needs to know you can't have instant bondings.
Of course, it would take some time.
Right. So as I don't know whether you have heard of Molly Brown, the lady who writes about this, and she's really good. She says this is a dish which takes a long time to cook.
I see.
Right?
So patience is key again.
Yes. So, and number 2 is, don't try to buy love. Mostly people think if they buy expensive gifts, it's going to be. Children see right through it, right? And the other thing is, when you're a step parent, always do what you do best. Be yourself. Don't try to be someone else to them. Be honest to them. Be affectionate, but just be yourself, right? And last but the least, always the disciplining part or handling the behavioral part should be done by the parent.
I see.
You do not step in there. The biological parent has to handle that.
And that's a very important message, I think, that people should keep in mind, because there are so many changes that are happening in that household. So even if there is a parent who is now not in the household anymore, or there is a new person who has stepped into that role, or actually stepped into the house. Not into the role, as you rightly mentioned, but there would always come a time when children may have anxiety about the changes that are taking place around them. So what are the red flags that parents, divorced parents, should look out for when it comes to these anxiety reactions in their children?
Anxiety reactions are generally age appropriate, right? So if your child is just an infant, or a child young as 2 to 3 years old, you could see signs of restlessness, different patterns of sleeping, refusing to intake food, because they read the stress from your body, but they are not able to express it to you verbally yet, right? So if your child is in the age group of 3 to 6 or even 8, the symptoms are the child will cry a lot, will be sad all the time, because then again they are trying to achieve their own self-awareness, so it's very difficult for them to express their feelings, right? Temper tantrums, they get very angry. Clinginess, they are very scared that if you go, or that you are not going to come back home. And but when it comes to a kid who is over 8 up to adolescence, it will be symptoms like always complaining about a stomach pain, saying headaches, lack of appetite, little excuses that they are expressing their feelings through physical sicknesses, right? And even come down on academics, right? But if the child is adolescent to pre-teenage years, that's the time the child will think, okay, my parents don't have time for me, right? So these kids are in a rush to leave home. They want to have that whole independent lifestyle, you know, I'm going to do what I'm going to do kind of thing, right? But at the same time, these kids are very vulnerable to make a lot of mistakes, because they are in a rush to go leave the home. They might show symptoms of always being tired, right? Lack of interest in anything, low self-esteem, and even if it's especially male, getting into a lot of fights, right?
So violence becomes an outlet.
Violence becomes an outlet.
I see. So these are the symptoms that parents should look out for. And again, we have to remind you that reassurance is the key to make sure that your child adjusts to these changes, because they may be inevitable, but that doesn't mean that a child needs to go through any pain or suffering unnecessarily because of the loss of one parent. So
more stability and consistency.
Definitely. So there we go. Stability and consistency is what you should look out for during any kind of divorce or separation. Thank you so much, Arundhati, for sharing your expertise with us this morning. It's always lovely to have you here on a Friday. I'm afraid that we've come to the end of our show today, but if you do want to give us feedback, you can always email us at mtvsports@maharaja.lk, and we will be more than happy to hear all of your comments as well as any critique. It's all right with us. Thank you so much for being with us on the show this morning, and we hope you have a pleasant morning. We'll see you next week.